Welcome to the Dragon's Library, your source for games, movies, shows, and more. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Dragon's Library, and today we are talking about Amphibia. And oh my god, I love this show so much. So, for those of you who don't know, because unless you are really into animation, or a kid, you probably don't know about this, Disney Channel has been running this show for basically the last 3 years. It only started coming out in 2019, called Amphibia. It has 3 seasons, and it is amazing. It's one of the best things Disney has released in years. Go watch this. Seriously, it's episodic. You can just pick up wherever you want, essentially, start watching, and, do it at your own pace. It's 15-minute episodic episodes cut in half for each full-length episode. Just go check it out. Like, seriously, the episodes are like 11 minutes apiece for the most part. There are very few two-parters. Enjoy this. It is good. But I guess I gotta sell you more like than it's just good. So Amphibia is a 3-season TV show, animated show on Disney Channel. It is sort of part of like the weird animation renaissance that has been going on lately, where you've had things like Gravity Falls, Steven Universe, Amphibia, and Owl House. Now, granted, Steven Universe was over on Cartoon Network, but I'm trying to include the other series as well. Disney has been hitting out of the park, though, although they canceled Owl House, basically reduced its full season to like 3 40-minute movie episodes, so, I'm very conflicted about that. But one of the main characters ranted about how we don't have 20 extra adventures to build out characters, so, apparently the show writers are annoyed too, which makes me feel slightly better. Anyway. Basically, this is an isekai series. For those of you who don't know what isekai is, because you don't watch anime, basically, the main plot is essentially, you have Anne Boonchuy, her 2 friends, Sasha Waybright and Marcy Wu. They get, one of them, so Marcy gives Anne a weird music box she found in an antique store for her birthday. They open it up, and suddenly they find themselves split apart from each other and in a world called Amphibia, on this main continent that's shaped like a frog head, because, well, it's a kid's show, so fun stuff like this is just, the nature of things. Sasha gets thrown into prison with a bunch of toads who are very warrior-like, and goes to this weird rural town with a bunch of frogs, and Marcy gets dropped into the New Kingdom and befriends the king. And it's essentially an episodic series at first. Small, low-down adventures, and trying to figure out what's going on, how she got here. She's the one who was holding the music box, so she's the one who has it. There's lots of small details in the background, and as things go on, it slowly builds into an actual overarching plot as they meet up with each other, first with Sasha, then with Marcy, and things kind of start twisting until you suddenly realize there's a lot more going on underneath. One of the things I really like about Amphibia, and one of the things I've done very well while watching it, is that even the episodic episodes hold a lot of weight later on. Like, some of them, are just fun random adventures, because, those are interesting and fun. We can have fun. The planters are made up of 3 different frogs. There's Hop Hop, Sprig, and Polly, who's like a tadpole. And the characters are all very likable, interesting, unique, all of them have nice quirky personalities. The town is pretty interesting, although I usually care more about the overarching lore episodes with the ancient empire, whole castle in the sky thing. There's a lot of anime references in this, by the way. Everything from Dragon Ball to Studio Ghibli. So, if you like when Western animation references anime, you're gonna really get a kick out of this show. Animation, fantastic. This show, so it's a Western animated series, so it has technically higher budget, it has higher quality on average than most other series. What I mean when I say that is, Western animation tends to put more effort into individual frames, whereas things like anime will generally have very low frame rates in talking scenes, but they'll have really, really high frame rates in actions. And this show actually tries to mesh some of the higher frame rates that you see in normal scenes into the with the really, really high frame rates of action scenes and very well done scenes. And when the show wants to, it practically flips a switch, and all of a sudden it feels like you're watching an animated movie. I'm not even joking, it's that abrupt sometimes. There's this one scene at the finale where 2 characters were hugging. It's the final farewell scene, and it was just this moment of suddenly the camera's doing the whole rotating around them as they hug thing, and it's whoa, what did this become an animated movie level quality? It's really good animation. Let me put it this way. You will enjoy this. Yes. The first season if you don't like slice of life stuff, the first season can be a bit of a slog. And honestly, the series as a whole is heavily based on episodic slice of life building up to a big overarching plot. So if you want that lore, injected directly into you immediately, sorry, we're going for a slow ride here. That can be a turn for some people. I got through it, and I'm more of a lore person than an episodic plot guy, but, that's just me. But quite frankly, you're going to get a lot out of this. It's a 58 episode run, so that was actually a pretty good run for just 3 years. And all in all, really, really good. Fantastically written. Has a lot of references to both Gravity Falls and Owl House, which is nice. It seems like a lot of the anime creators over at Disney Channel really seem to like each other's works and constantly want to reference it. It reminds me of when I was a kid and we'd have all those crossovers between like Lilo and Stitch and Kim Possible and stuff like that. So it's nice to see that's going on. Also, this show is not afraid to just casually murder people, so be prepared for that. Oh my god. Yeah, that was, weird. And the final episode, it's technically a happy ending, but there's that one part where it's like, holy shit, that's gonna leave me with, that's gonna leave the main character with lasting trauma. It is nice when an animated series is it's lighthearted for the most part, but it's not above occasionally dipping into just, slightly disturbing stuff. Nothing over, because they had to get around the Disney censors, but they do a lot without being able to show blood. Let me just put it that way. Shish kebab. Ooh. Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil who that is. Yeah, this is a fantastic series. Good voice cast. Let's see here. The main character is voiced by Brenda Song. She's done a few good things. She's actually done a lot of good stuff over the years. Let's see. She's been in Phineas and Ferb, Wizard Woodley Place. Recent years. Amphibia is her pretty big thing in recent years. So she's been pretty good. She's been great as Anne Boonchuy. She's the main character. It's actually interesting to see a Thai main character. You don't see a lot of people with Taiwanese descent and as a main character of a show. So that was pretty cool. Habadiah Planter is Bill Farmer. You got Sprig as Justin Feldbringer. Polly is Amanda Langton. Sasha is Anna Akana. Marcy is Haley Ju. Captain Grime, got Troy Baker. King Andreas, Keith David. Keith David is working his ass off for King Andreas. He does a great job of the character. Let's see, what else? Just, a few others scattered around. They're all pretty good. I really did like this show, especially the ending. I felt like it doesn't double down on the power fantasy of isekai. It shows it as a way to grow the characters, and then the ending is very final. Which is, I'm not gonna spoil it, but the ending was fantastic. Seriously, this ending was amazing. 100%. You doubled down on the themes. You followed through on the themes rather than trying to give people an unambiguously happy ending. You made it slightly bittersweet, which, if you heard me talk about Uprooted, and you've heard me talk about any other series, bittersweet endings are kind of my jam. I don't know what it is. It's almost like it's a more realistic outcome for me, and I can kind of relate to it more if all the characters don't get a perfect ending, if it's slightly just tainted or sad. They're still all happy, but they're happy and they didn't get what they wanted, And yeah, I like that. Also great music. There are a few voice songs. They even did alternate theme songs for the other two side characters from the main trio. I guess the main trio of humans, because the Habadiah, the Planters and Anne make up the main cast for the most part as a sort of 4-man band of sorts. But all in all, I think this was, quite frankly, a fantastic series. More people need to see it. Even if you're not into animation, I think giving this a watch, you might find you enjoy it. It has basically something for everything. So if you have a bunch of friends or family members that you all want to watch something, this is a great choice because it has a little bit for everything. It has some action, has some comedy, and it is kind of a comedy slice of life show at its core, but it also has, in addition to the slice of life comedy, like I said, really good action scenes, really good heartfelt drama. You got some mystery in there. You got some slightly darker imagery, just mixed in for that one person who needs somebody getting skewered with a sword, in everything they watch. They will be happy with this one. Because the Disney censors are blind to a lot of stuff as long as you don't show blood or curse. I also love how there's that recurring trope now in animation where it's we can't make a character drunk. Okay, so they're not drunk. They're been immersed in this magical juice that makes them act like they're drunk, but we won't call it drunk. Perfect. Censors won't know what hit them. It's hilarious. I love it. It's like, censors, if you're okay with this, just make it drunk. I don't understand your problem. Oh. So, yeah. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 9 out of 10. It's a fantastic series. Maybe not the best I've ever watched. Personally, I think the slice of life comedy can be a bit on the nose, but it was trying to be a slice of life comedy with action and drama added in. So that's more of me not personally finding that genre as interesting as the action or lore-focused stuff with the fantasy and isekai. So the core of the series wasn't as that jam, but I still really enjoyed it. I don't usually go for slice of life comedy, so the fact that I was able to enjoy it means it's like, yeah, it's a 9. It's a flat out 9 out of 10 for me. Not personally for me. And remember, 9 out of 10 means I can't find any objective flaw with it, but it might not be my specific perfect show of all time. So this is still basically as high as most things will get in my category, unless I have like a really strong immediate attachment to them. And this thing is really good. Like, I had to really debate whether or not I was going to give this a 10. If you're wondering why When Women Were Dragons is not being reviewed today like I originally planned, there's been a delay in that because I had trouble with the audiobook. I wasn't able to listen to it last week, and I was busy this weekend, so I've only really just started listening to it. That thing's really good. It also is not subtle at all with its metaphor, so get ready for some, talk about that. Oh my. I'm mentally just so, like, forward with it. It's like, oh, finally, a book that just says stuff. It's like, yeah, we're not going to beat around the bush here. In fact, the whole point of this book is to be all of us beating around the bush. But enough about that. Let's move on to the spoiler territory. Be warned, there are actually major spoilers for this show, because both the second and third seasons reveal a lot of creepy stuff about the lore, and the season 2 finale in particular, oh boy, reveals some stuff. So, let's get into it. Okay, first up, let's go into the dynamic between the three main characters, because it kind of matters to the overarching thing. So you had this friend group with Marcy being the hanger-on, oh, I want to keep us together no matter what. She was the nerd, she was the geek. The others didn't really get her interest. Anne was sort of the follower of Sasha, who was the main leader. Sasha was very abrasive, constantly overruled them and pushed her ideas to the forefront. Not necessarily calling their ideas dumb, but more saying, see, that's great, but here's what we're actually going to do. And Anne just kind of followed behind them. Marcy was actually found a book that told her the music. See, her parents are getting divorced because, it can't be a parent dying or something like that. It has to be the divorce or whatever. Because that's like the default. They're going to break up the fan group. We have to keep them together at all times thing. So what happened was, Marcy was essentially taken in at, found this book that told her about the music box. She found it in the store. And she decided to use it to keep her friends together. So she gave it to Anne. She convinced Anne to shoplift it as a birthday gift for her. Very weird setup, but Marcy and their friend group is outright claimed to be toxic a bit, so they have problems to work through on their own. That's part of the show. As a result, they get transported to Amphibia. Like I said, they get separated. Sasha, with her domineering personality, becomes the leader of the Toads, and since the Toads want to conquer and rule Amphibia, but they're kind of being a little oppressed by the Newt, they're kind of like the big army, but not a lot of strategy, so the Newts keep them in line, and the Frogs are kind of like the least powerful, but the most plentiful species from what I've observed, too, so they have a lot of population, but not a lot of warriors, that kind of thing. Anyway, and the second season, at the end of the first season, Sasha leads the Toads against the Frogs and tries to conquer their kingdom. And manages to beat them off, obviously trauma because my best friend tried to fight me to the death with swords. Then in season 2, they find Marcy, and Sasha tries to get back in the friend group because she wants to help Grime and the other Toads conquer Amphibia completely. Because she has not learned her freaking lesson yet. It has to get beaten into her. Anyway, Marcy is currently hanging out in the capital of the Newts, who are sort of like the ruling class of Amphibia. And their king, Andreas, who is ginormous, is currently like her BFF. Sort of like her version of Grimes of the Planters. Anyway, Marcy's the smart one. They try and get the gem's power back up, because the gems got depowered when they re-entered Amphibia. That's why Anne couldn't use the box to leave immediately. So, they go through these temples, and it looks like the power's getting drained out of them. Now, when they're trying to grab the last gem, Anne has to leave really quickly so it doesn't get fully drained, and a bit of the power stays inside her, which turns out to be important later when it's revealed that Andreas is trying to pull a castle in the sky on us, except that people never realized they were monsters and somebody else had to intervene. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about because you haven't watched an amazing movie, seriously, go see Castle in the Sky by Studio Ghibli. You need to watch this movie. It's really good. It's a cultural touchstone. Watch it. Yes, like I was saying. Basically, the Newts had a world, universe-conquering civilization powered by ancient technology that was all drawing from the music box they had. The gems are essentially sources of limitless power that can help one travel throughout realities. They use this power to invade less advanced worlds and steal their resources, essentially being a multiversal conquering empire. One of Andreas' friends back in the days betrayed him after having a vision of something horrible happening and hid the box. This caused their civilization to collapse and Andreas to essentially wait for his turn because his father, along with the other previous rulers, have been absorbed in what's called the core, which is essentially a hive mind collective where they digitize their minds and upload them into a computer. And he's been waiting all these years for the box to make it back to Amphibia because prophecy nonsense is going on. Yeah, we've got a prophecy. Fun, right? All right. Anne figures out that she still has a bit of the gem's power, which is essentially, Super Saiyan mode. And Marcy and before they find out any of this, Sasha tries her little coup. Using the Toad's armies and from within, holding the music box as hostage, she manages to take everyone prisoner. What's really interesting, though, is Sasha is not kind of enjoying it that much. She's feeling a little guilty, so her and Grimes go like, let's do some redecorating. And then they find this giant mural that depicts Andreas, or somebody who looks a lot like him, using the box to wreak havoc on another world. And they're like, wow, it's a really good it's a really good thing we stopped him, huh? And then suddenly they hear the main heroes rebelling against the invaders and fighting them off, and they're like, oh shit. And so Sasha's like, oh my gosh, I gotta warn Anne. And she's like, Anne, please, you have to believe me. I know I've lied to you 5 times now, and I betrayed your trust in ways I can never repay. But seriously, you need to see this mural. Andreas is evil. We actually did a good thing here. It's like, I don't want to hear from you. You betrayed me. And then there's this really creepy scene where Anne gives the music box to Andreas, and he's looming over her, so he fills the background. And it's revealed that Marcy, and eventually after Andreas tricks them, it's revealed, yeah, Marcy knew about this. Not the whole he's gonna conquer Earth thing, more of the, she basically told her that if she helped her trick her friends into giving the box power again, he would allow them to join them in a multiversal adventure. He didn't exactly tell her a whole conquering worlds bit, but Marcy knew, and so Anne has been, betrayed in a coup by her first friend, who she was just finally forgiven, then finds out the only friend who hadn't betrayed her actually set this all up, and then lied to her again to try and get them to basically go on a we never have to grow up hope forever adventure for the rest of their known lives. And then, after Marcy decides to help them escape, after multiple characters nearly die, and the robot does get smashed to bits, she opens a portal and and they're like, Marcy, hurry up! And there's just one more second in, I can almost... And then... Whoosh. So, King Andreas has his lightsaber. Yep. Straight through the chest. And I'm sorry. Falls over, and she's probably dead. That's how season 2 ended. Yeah, they murdered a character on screen in a Disney show. Sigh, Disney would never allow them to murder a character in the 2nd season. That has to be done in the 3rd season, everybody. Only the villains are allowed to die. So it turns out, Andreas put her in a healing tube and said, I'll come back for you later. The core has plans for you. And essentially later on, after the queen and one of the generals tries to rebel because they're a couple, which is really cute, Marcy gets her body hijacked as basically a puppet for the core to march around with and lead the army as Darcy or Dark Marcy, which, yes, that's canon. Yeah, take it in. She has a lightsaber scythe and everything. It's weird. I like it. I like it a lot, actually. It's very over-the-top villainy, which the core is really good at. So, hey, just go all out, You get some stuff in San Francisco, which is not nearly as interesting. Anne's parents are a lot of fun. What else? We get crazy scientists, FBI trying to stop them. all kinds of insanity. They go back there. They had to start, help out the rebels. All the townsfolk are now like post-apocalypse rebel survivors, which is all really cool. Like this one really wimpy character turns into like a buff, super buff guy. Really weird. And everybody's just like living their best post-apocalypse self, essentially. Lead a rebellion. The villains are really hateable, very competent. And yeah. So, near the end, the three main characters, or three main humans, essentially turn into Super Saiyans and get magical whatever they want powers to go blast out a dying Death Star trying to Majora's Mask the planet. And no, I'm not going to explain all these references. Figure it out, people. Moon's crashing into Earth. But their power isn't enough, and so Anne has to use this secret spell she learned from a mystical Olm spirit, which are these giant worm things, which allows her to use all the powers of all the gems, but at the price of her life. So she basically goes full god mode and destroys the moon. I'm sure there'll be no ramifications on the tides or any form of phenomena for this, planet. But yeah, let's see. Let's just say there aren't. Then she dies. I'm not even joking this time. Anne dies. Like, full-on dies. She does get to have a chat with God, though, who made a backup of her a few minutes before she died. So she's sort of alive, but they freely admit that the Anne thing that we've known for the entire series died. But God made a backup of her, 2 seconds before she died. So, it's all cool, right? There are no lingering trauma to deal with there. No, the main character is like, well, I'm going to have to work through that for the rest of my life. The fact that I'm, a clone of myself. And he reveals that he's basically the god of the multiverse who created the crystals to see how mortals reacted to ultimate power, and was the only person who was willing to give up that power in exchange for the safety of others. So as a result of this, whereas everyone else used the power to conquer or destroy, or even just to benefit themselves and the ones they cared about rather than giving up something for themselves. Because basically by destroying the stones, and Sasha and Marcy essentially said, we're willing to never go home. Which, yeah, Marcy has gotten over that and kind of does want to go home. Sasha definitely wants to go home, and Anne wants to go home even more so because she's just seen her parents again, and now remembers even more so just how much she misses them. I've completely forgot about the part where they get chased by the FBI guy in Heelys. Yeah, the head of the FBI's alien investigations guy wears Heelys. You know those shoes that have the single state roller in them? Yeah. Yeah, the show is weird and I love it. Oh, it's fantastic. But, yeah, so her and God have a chat. God's like, hey, take my place. I'm really sick of this. Can you please just become God? And she's like, nah. It's like, dude, look, it's like, but you're perfect. You're the only you're the only mortal I've ever met that qualifies. It's like, I make mistakes all the time. I may have gotten a few things right in the way, but I still got a lot to learn. Maybe, once I'm fully grown, it's like, when you're fully grown. All right, I'm going to send you back for 71 years. See you then. It's like, whoa, wait, what do you mean 71 years? Because, obviously he's an omniscient being who knows when she's going to die, so. And, yeah. He sends her back to little full life. He gives her shards of the stones that have a one-time use to get her, Sasha, and Marcy back to their worlds. All the characters realize that we're never going to see each other again because travel between dimensions was only possible. This scientist was able to make a portal back for them, but she was only able to make a window, and without Anne's power from the gemstone, it was needed to stabilize it. So without that gemstone, they can't travel between worlds, which means that once they go home forever. They'll never see each other again. They leave Amphibia behind permanently. All the people say goodbye to their peers. Yuna and the Queen say goodbye to Marcy. Grimes and Sasha finally let down their macho act to cry to each other. And the planters, especially Sprague, who sees Anne as a sister, essentially. And they have this whole thing of spraying against the world. Because they're partners in crime. It's all just very heartwarming. That's the shot I was telling you about too, where the camera rotates around them and the animation just ticks up 10 notches. It's all a very heartwarming goodbye. And then they go home. You see 10 years later where Amphibia is recovered from the devastation wreaked by Andreas. All the old war machines are kind of being grown over again. Technology is slightly better. They've, grown to include a lot of the robot stuff, but without the whole destroying the planet in the process. And all in all, they moved on. They build a statue of Anne, and then we get to check in on the humans. The world's still going on, although I love this one line where they're like, as we now celebrate the 10-year anniversary of what we called Frogvasion, one question still remains. Was any of it real? It's like, good to see that fake news bullshit is still coming around. It's like, yeah, we had to question things that we have, like, an entire city being destroyed. And they still have 2 giant herons that are man-eaters in San Francisco. So, like, I think the question of did we get invaded by another reality is a definitive yes. Yes, we did. This is where all this extra-dimensional reality with materials that do not exist in our world came from. Also, the 2 giant carnivorous birds that are probably going to ruin our ecosystem. So, yeah. All in all, pretty cool. And Marcy and Sasha get together after years of being apart. Marcy had to accept her parents moving away. Sasha and Anne eventually drifted into different friend groups. But they still talk on occasion. They're just not as close as they used to be. Because that's the whole point. It's like, yeah, you might love people. You might want to be around them constantly. But trying to force yourselves to stay together when your lives take diverging paths can cause you both a lot of suffering. And essentially, it's like, yes, you can still be friends with people. You can still love people, even if you drift apart. That's natural. It happens. And you need to learn to accept it, which was Marcy, Sasha, and Anne's big revelation, is that they need to accept that, yeah, they're friends. They're best friends. But they might not always be that. But they can still care for each other. Which, yeah, that's an important message, I think, personally. And Anne, so Marcy's doing a webcomic. Sasha is trying to teach students, which is amazing. It's like, yeah, I need to help them work through issues. Like, oh, if anyone can help students work through a bunch of issues, it's Sasha, I guess. She certainly worked through a bunch of shit. Anyway, and Anne is currently a frog scientist. God, what's the technical term for it? Herpetologist. And she's creating an exhibit to showcase frogs, toads, and newts. And she's called it Amphibia, which is really cute, honestly. It has a little frog who looks like Sprig, who she named Sprig. And they meet up together, they give Anne some birthday gifts, because it's been, a few years, it's their 10-year anniversary. Seeing her again, she's 24, she's had her, it's her birthday. And they're just kind of going about their lives. And it's nice, It's nice. I think that's really interesting. I think it's just a fun, happy, kind of bittersweet ending, because they don't ever get to see Amphibia again. They're not as close as they used to be, but they're still friends. They still care about each other. They still know that they're going to be all right. That's why I kind of think it's bittersweet. It's like, yeah, all the characters got happy endings, but they got happy endings where they're, despite how close they grew, are no longer a part of their lives, and that's okay. And I think that's just a really cool ending to a show, honestly. So, yeah, it's basically all my thoughts on this. I mean, not all of them. It would take a lot longer than an episode of my podcast to give all my thoughts on this show. And quite frankly, I'm in a bit of a rush because it's already like 11 o'clock and I want to finish recording this. So, yeah. See you guys next time for either When Women Were Dragons or the Bob's Burger movie, whichever one I feel like I finished in time. And if not either of those, well, there's that stupid Chip and Dale movie that seems to be doing something meta about remakes and 3D versus 2D animation. So maybe I'll look at that, although I haven't heard great things about it, so Well, see you guys around. Bye. I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode, and thank you for listening to the Dragon's Library. Please subscribe to this podcast to be notified of new episodes. The Dragon's Library releases new episodes Tuesday and Friday each week, and you can follow us on Twitter at dragon_library2. If you want to suggest an episode topic, my email is in the description below. And as always, thank you so much for all your support.